welcome back to another video. So today I'll be looking at my latest track, Moonlight Waltz. And for those that have been watching this channel for a while, you probably know that it was based on a YouTube video I made about 2.5 years ago called The Smoothest Tone, or The Smoothest Tone Possible. And I believe it was just someone commented, can you just write something a bit slower and a bit more mellower? Because I was doing quite a lot of trumpet solos that were the complete opposite of that. Surprise, surprise. So anyway, this is the session, and yeah, let's just give it a little listen first. In terms of like the instrumentation of it, I was definitely going for a kind of lo-fi beats, lo-fi jazz kind of sound. And essentially lo-fi is, well, let's go with the drums to start off with. I'll just solo the kick and snare. It's probably the least aggressive sounding drums that kind of exist, I guess. And that's why I really like it, because I still wanted a sense of movement with this track, and I do find that drums or percussion really adds to that. So if I just took away all of the percussion, this is what it would sound like. So having muted it, like, it does sound great, and it almost would work as a track on its own without any kind of percussion. Wherever that right cymbal is, Oh, I haven't even... Oh yeah, another thing that I do all the time is I just don't label stuff and put stuff where they should be. So really this shaker and this ride cymbal should probably be in the drums folder, but clearly I haven't done that. My sessions are a little bit all over the place in terms of where stuff is. There isn't really much of a logic to it, because a lot of the time I'm just trying to get ideas down and I'm sort of creatively in the moment, as it were, so not really thinking too much about making it look pretty, because no one's going to look at this session until now. So, you know, you're only going to hear the music, sort of thing. Anyway, I think my point with these drums was that even though it does sound pretty without any kind of drum, I think the drums just provide that extra kind of comfort and that sort of grounding of the track, which I really like. And because the drums aren't aggressive in nature at all, it just sort of adds to the coziness, I guess. So these are sample-based kick and snare sounds. I also added this sample. This is just some snare brushes. And I kind of found that it sounds a bit lacking without this. I remember when I was doing all of the drums for this, I was kind of like, it does just feel like there needs to be, because it's quite a slow beat, the beat sounds very isolating without some sort of mold to just kind of like, you know, put it all together quite nicely. And this brush sample, I think, does that. So without... Do you know what I mean? It doesn't quite have that sort of movement and that sort of togetherness. It feels quite isolating when the kick and the snare hit. We've also got this one shot kind of crackle thing. Again, just kind of adding to the sort of vintage vibe of the track. So without it. And with. One thing I didn't mention with these brushes, actually, I believe it's slowed down. I think it's a lot faster, or maybe it's a lot 74. Might have been sped up, actually. I can't remember. But anyway, this is not the original tempo of what these brushes were recorded at. And because it is played by a real person, there's a few like bits that aren't quite in time. But I also quite like that because the kick is very much on the beat, I believe. Yeah, they're very much on the line here. But the snare brush kind of adds that kind of human element as well. It's also copying. Why are the two folders called drums? Yeah. Again, I've sort of proved my point with how stupid I name everything. There is some sort of thing that's copying the one shot crackle. I think it's this processed hi-hat. Yeah. So that's also copying this crackle. So it's all about layers, really. You know, fundamentally we've got a kick and a snare, and then we've got the brushes to kind of bring a lot of the space, or get rid of a lot of the space in between. And we've also got hi-hats as well. What's this? So that's the sort of offbeat. And then we've also got some cymbals, and I believe some like crash almost. Yeah, I spent ages because I knew I wanted like a sort of really soft crash cymbal sound that has a really nice long sustain, but it's so difficult to find one that doesn't sound like really aggressive, you know, someone absolutely smashing the hell out of a cymbal. It literally took me so long, but I eventually found this, which I think is perfect. It works really, really well. And I believe I cut like, okay, I didn't cut too much of the top ends, but yeah, that's another thing I did with this track, is like I cut a lot of top end off everything, so that's what adds to the warmth. So you'll kind of notice, like with the snare, for example, yeah, I've cut quite a lot of the top end. So if I take this off, you got a lot more attack. It does sound a lot cleaner, but it also doesn't quite sound as warm. And the number one thing I wanted with this track was for it to sound warm and cozy, you know, on a sort of winter's night. But what was I going to say? Yeah, what's this? Okay, so further reinforcing the kind of snare, we've got, I don't really know what this actual sound is, because it's not like a traditional snare sound. It's sort of a sample snare, but we've also got these kind of rim click sounds just to add to the kind of sound, but it again, it doesn't really have a lot of top end. I didn't actually process these, so clearly they didn't need much attention, unless, oh, there you go. Right, so let me just take this off, and hopefully you'll hear it'll now sound very high pitched. So it's way too much, isn't it? So with it on, it's much better.